Hello YouTube, it is me, your host, Grumblebrig, and today we're going to be looking at the 1995 album from Mushroomhead, just called Mushroomhead. It's their debut self-titled album. I didn't really know a lot going into this album. I don't even remember exactly how I discovered it. That's a lie. I had listened to a Mushroomhead song, and then I started really liking them, and eventually I stumbled on this one because I decided I wanted to just listen to every single album they had for some reason. And so here I am reviewing their first one. Kind of ironic. My first video, their first album. But anyway, on to the video. As we start out this album, we get a nice piano that kind of sounds like someone's 6th grade recital. Then the guitars come in with a nice, slow, steady riff. This first song is mostly just samples with old drug PSAs about LSD and, the old jazz cabbage, if you catch my drift. It's weed. They're talking about weed. It's a bunch of old dudes talking about drug lingo that I'm sure I'm not old enough to really understand. Blast a joint. I've never heard that in my life. Anyway, after the PSAs fade out, we get some samples that are probably from a movie, but I don't really know. And then it transitions into the next song. This next song is called Elevation. As the sounds of traffic and the movie samples, or whatever the hell it is, fade, we go into a song that's like nothing that I've ever really heard. Kind of. This song is very reminiscent of something that Pink Floyd would make. The vocals are very rough, very emotional, very in your face. And you have the synth and the guitars in the background that kind of sound like they're dueling in a way. But I think the drums and the bass end up winning. Actually, the synth wins, especially with the deep and grumbling note at the end of the song that I think only can be described best as sturdy for some reason. After Elevation, we then go into the song Too Much Nothing. And this song opens up with some fuck-ass noises that kind of sound like a wind chime being fucked by a chipmunk. We then get back into more gritty and emotional sounding vocals. But the lyrics are about as simple as the song Lean On Me. Just, different words. But I do think it pairs pretty well with all the other instruments. Looking past the lyrics, we can hear a pretty simple synth and a guitar part. And then it just abruptly ends. This next song is called Ego Trip. This one starts very abruptly and in your face with clean, almost apathetic sounding vocals that eventually turn gritty and harsh. Next, we get a nice riff from the guitar that sounds kind of like a System of a Down song. It then turns into a nice, fast-paced instrumental. I can finally hear the bass line. And where the fuck am I? For the first time in this album, I can hear the bass line. Briefly. It then goes back into some gritty vocals, and after, once again, the synth, the drums, and the guitar are just laying down some absolute fucking heat, along with the bass. And he's just slapping away on that shit. Briefly. It then fades to what sounds like radio chatter with a high-pitched noise that comes in for a couple seconds. This is a song that I don't think I could get bored of with how much is going on in it, honestly. It's a very, very busy song, and it's just so much to focus on, and so much to get lost in, Anyway, this next song, you're gonna like it. It's called Mommy. This song starts off much like me, rock solid, as we hear a woman moaning in the background. Only a couple seconds after, we hear a synth come in, followed a little later by a woman singing, and I would be lying to you if I told you I could understand what she was saying. But we're not here for lyrical analysis, are we? Anyway, she stops singing and we get to an instrumental with just a synth part for a minute or so. Then the vocals come back in alongside the drums and just a fucking heater of a guitar riff. The instruments then fade out and we get to hear another sample, this time about closeted whores. No, I am not joking, because apparently the color of your underwear dictates whether you're promiscuous or not. Personally, I think no underwear is a bit more promiscuous, but what do I know? Then we get into a song called Second Thoughts, and in this one we begin with a little bit more synth action, some clean vocals, but they sound like they're being recorded on a shitty headset. There is a lot going on with this song already, though. The drums keep driving along this beat really well, and then the guitar comes in with some chugging before it syncs up with the synth, just like most other songs in this album. They seem to pair oddly well, to be honest. Back to the vocals, though. This time, there's two. One of them kind of singing like Jonathan Davis of Korn, while the other one sits in the background, kind of hyping him up, sounding like Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. It's a strange pairing, I know, but I feel like with how much is going on in this song, it works really well. The sample at the end of it kind of just sounds like it's accusing me of treason, so that's cool. This next song is called Casualties in B minor, and this might be where the treasonous activities are coming from. This song is pretty short compared to the other ones. Opens up with gunfire, and then the piano comes in. It's not a very complex piano part, to be honest. In fact, it kind of sounds like something you'd learn in a beginner's piano book. Meanwhile, there's still heavy gunfire and heavy artillery in the background. So, yeah, treason. Synth! This next song is called Indifferent, and it opens up synth in your face right away before some grumbly, gritty vocals come in, followed by the guitars with just a nice airy riff. I don't know how else to describe it, but the guitar keeps going in and out throughout this song, and once again we have those background vocals that sort of sound like a hype man for some low-grade rapper. Overall, this song, like I said, it feels very busy and almost anxiety-inducing, even though it's pretty short, all things considered. This next song is called Simpleton, and this song starts out with layers of people cackling before the piano comes in with an upbeat and almost joyful, fun-sounding chord progression, which is kind of weird for this album. One of the vocalists joins in with some nice clean vocals this time. Then the guitar comes in as the vocals start to get more gritty. This song is somewhat short, and as the title might, allude, it's pretty simple with how it's composed. It then fades to some more sampling, whatever that means. Because my script writer, he's a bit of an ass. The song is called 43, just the number though. The song also starts off with a cackling sample before almost going into a mystical sounding beat on the synth. The best way I can describe it is it sounds like it's being played on crystals, or like water on the rim of a glass or something. It's weird. Anyway, the drums come in, some nice powerful kicks, as well as something that sounds like a gunshot going off in the distance. I'll check the obituaries later, but I'm pretty sure it was just the song. After a couple measures of that, the rest of the instruments, including the remainder of the drum set, decide to make their way in there. The guitar goes in and out, kind of synced up with the vocals, until we go into the most busy part with some samples about questioning God, while both vocalists, are singing at the same time in a very coordinated manner. It's honestly pretty kick-ass. That lasts for all of 10 seconds before they go back into what they were doing with the guitar and all that. Except this time, there's double kicks on the kick drum. Afterwards, we hear the closest thing to a breakdown that I've heard in this entire album, where we once again get to hear the bass line briefly. Then some screaming happens for some reason. We then get more coordinated singing before the song ends sort of abruptly with the sound of shattering glass. Next song. We then go into a song called Untitled. But if it was Untitled, wouldn't Untitled be the name? Shut up. Anyway, this song called Untitled, and you'll see why it's called Untitled. At least I did. This song opens with some sampling of someone being called a bitch. It then goes into a very metal and industrial sounding EDM beat. It then abruptly switches into a much more electronic sounding beat while various samples of people moaning and screaming pop in and out. Yes, I'm being serious. This song kind of made me question things. But not as much as the next one. This next song is called Snap. What the fuck is this? This song is so fucking weird. This is easily the most confusing part of the album. It opens with what sounds like the crackle of electricity before going into what I can only describe as EDM industrial noise. It's accompanied by more fucking sounds, whatever. I don't fucking know. It's accompanied by more samples, this time more drug-related samples. That's some very heavy theming in this album, if you haven't noticed. This next song is called Compilation, and you're going to realize why if you ever actually take a peek at this album. You don't have to. There's no pressure. Anyway, this song opens up with a piano that kind of sounds like it's drowning, and some heavily pitched down vocals come in and just saying God knows what. Then goes into a part of this song on this album called Too Much Nothing, and samples that for a minute. Oh shit. And the best part about this song was the fact that reading Too Much Nothing made me remember that I had to record the Too Much Nothing part, but I completely forgot to do that. It then goes into the song from this album, Too Much Nothing, another good song, until it just abruptly ends. And we start hearing that drowning piano again. Then goes into the song from this album, Indifferent, which I also think I forgot to record. Yes, I did. Fuck. This also abruptly ends, and we get to hear that drowning piano again. That kind of sounds like it's from the same sixth grade recital as earlier. It then goes into the song from this album, Second Thoughts. Just a random sampling of their own song. Cool. It also abruptly ends before going into the song from this album, Mommy, because I know you like that so much. That, as you might have guessed, for those paying attention, abruptly ends as well, and we once again get that nice recital riff, but far more distorted than it was before. Then it switches into the song from this album, 43, until the end, where the last thing we hear is the shattering glass. Every time this song reused another song from this album, it always felt off. Honestly, this song kind of freaked me out a little bit, especially listening to it at home, alone, at night. It did a really good job at making the songs that I really liked to this album just feel unfamiliar, and it did one hell of a job making me feel uncomfortable. This is something you've got to listen to with good headphones in order to get the most out of it and to get the most feeling out of listening to it. Because when it's just you and that and that song, it feels a hell of a lot different. Now, here's my final thoughts on the album. I honestly had a great time listening to this album. I feel like it was very well put together, but at the same time, it was kind of messy. It was organized chaos, if you will, you know? To me, this sounds very much like a passion project in the best way possible. It sounds like they were a bunch of theater kids who were into metal and they got along and just started making music. Because, I mean, why the hell not? In terms of just like how it sounds, I think it's very unique and artistic, in my opinion. You rarely hear pianos in metal music, but they really made it work. It wasn't overbearing, it wasn't the main focus. It just added a sort of erotic and sort of terrifying ambience to this whole album. Lyrically, it sounded like this album had a lot of themes of like domestic violence and drug abuse. You don't really need to be a detective to figure that out, especially with the samples they used. It pushed them in your face. It pushed them as long as you were willing to listen to the lyrics for a minute. But I think the samples were very, very well used. It really added to making this album that much more interesting. All right, and that was my review of Mushroomhead's Mushroomhead self-titled album. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you feel like it, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like. If you didn't like it, you can always dislike. But please feel free to tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you absolutely hate my opinion, you can tell me that too. But all in all, this is just my opinion. I am by no means a music expert, and please don't get mad at me. I think that's about gonna do it though. Bye.